Want to level up your leadership? Welcome to The Boss Coach.
Hey boss, how's business? Patrick got me talking in metrics. Hey boss, how's business? I'm the boss coach of my own moves. Hey ladies!
Sing it, ladies, sing it loud. You know, they say you can judge a podcast by its intro music, and I hope they're wrong. Well, hey boss, how's business? Hey, are the high gas prices affecting your industry at all? Or at least slowing down business travel? You know, you forget how many parts of the supply chain are impacted by oil. I hope your company isn't hit, forcing you to make some tough decisions that you don't want to. Well, thanks for clicking and listening. My name is Patrick McGranahan, and welcome back to The Boss Coach. If this episode was shared with you by a thoughtful friend or a coworker and you are new, please check out the podcast trailer. That's episode 100. It gives you a little background on what The Boss Coach is all about, what I'm trying to do, what my journey is, and what my mission is. And of course, check out all of season 1 for lots of helpful stuff, including basics on becoming a leader, on being a great leader. And now in season 2, we're focusing on some more advanced topics. And this episode in particular is going to be very unique. You know, as I was researching the subject, I found almost nothing, and I can't believe that nobody is talking about this. The idea came from this quote I read recently that it kind of broke me. It goes like this. Just because I don't require much doesn't mean I deserve bare minimum. Wow, let that sink in. It's about the gambit of being the squeaky wheel. And I think many of you are going to feel seen by this topic. You know, you don't want to be needy. It's not noble to be the squeaky wheel, but the squeaky wheel does get the grease, the attention. If you're self-sufficient, independent, autonomous, etc., you tend to get overlooked. Does that sound familiar, boss? And do you happen to work with the squeaky wheel?
Would anybody like a headset?
Mine isn't working!
Me neither.
I can't hear a thing!
Sir?
Excuse me, sir.
What?
Our headsets aren't working!
Well, you have to plug them in
Well,
here.
don't kick...
You know, it's true. The person who complains, whines, speaks up, or makes the most noise is most likely to receive the attention, the help, or get what they want. And that ain't fair. Look, boss, our jobs are hard enough. We have so much going on. You just want people to do their job so you can do yours. But out of sight, out of mind, right? For our people, the ones who don't need much end up getting our bare minimum if we're not careful. And for us, we want to do the same for our bosses. Be self-sufficient, be respectful of their time, but then they can tend to forget about you. So this one's kind of personal for me, so I guess I should kind of explain the background. Growing up, there were 7 kids crammed into a small farmhouse with 2 parents. Dad worked, but Mom couldn't. We had a special needs sister who required basically 24/7 care. So we were poor. We were quite poor, and our parents didn't have time or money for us. You literally couldn't be needy. They had nothing to give. There's no nobility in neediness. That's kind of how we were raised. We were raised basically feral, but we took care of each other and ourselves. So now I just don't have respect for squeaky wheels. It's sort of burned into my DNA. But I'm also an empathetic servant leader, so I want everyone to have what they require so they aren't in need. Does that kind of make sense? Well, with that in mind, let's talk about 3 things on this subject. 1, how to ensure you don't get overlooked for your noble independence. 2, how can we ensure that we're not ignoring our non-squeaky employees? And finally, how do you handle a squeaky wheel employee without losing your mind? Okay, topic 1, how can I be noticed if I'm self-sufficient? First, let's clarify that when I say the squeaky wheel gets the grease, what exactly is the grease? Well, the grease is attention, but not the best attention. As you know, it's annoying when they need the attention, but all publicity is good publicity, as they say. So those people still ensure that they're top of your mind. You don't want to be called out for bad attention, but how do you get that good attention? To figure that out, let's first call out how this happens. There's the out of sight, out of mind phenomenon we talked about, where if you don't constantly promote your work or ask for support, managers assume everything's fine or forget your contributions. Leaders can also mistake independence for disinterest or lack of ambition. It's also kind of a branding thing. High performance alone isn't enough. You must also manage how your work is perceived by others. Check out the name brand episode from season 1 that goes into this in a lot more depth. So boss, if you're overlooked, that's how you got here. But don't worry, here's your fix. Letters this time. A, one-to-one check-ins. If your boss doesn't schedule them, then you can set up your own. Be proactive. This is how you communicate your accomplishments and keep yourself top of mind. B, paper trail. Document your accomplishments, especially in your annual reviews. Send scorecards, operating business reviews, etc. Communicate it traceably. C, build strategic alliances. You want to develop a relationship with colleagues and managers outside your immediate team to ensure that your value is known across the organization. Then D, speak up. In meetings, that is. Don't be a wallflower. It literally make your voice heard even if you're just asking good questions. That's how you get noticed. But here's the bad news, boss. If you're in a situation where you're being completely iced out, this could be a sign of a toxic workplace or a quiet firing scenario. I'm unpacking this in more depth in an episode next season. Yes, I'm already planning for season 3. But if you're being ignored, it might be on purpose. But when it comes to getting noticed, I kind of boil it down to one saying. If you don't toot your own horn, you'll blow the opportunity instead. I kind of like that. Be your own cheerleader, tell your own story before somebody writes it for you, and I guarantee they'll get it wrong. Alright, number 2, how can we ensure that we're not overlooking our non-squeaky wheel employees? The quiet wheels, if you will. Well, have you heard of the parable of the prodigal son from the Bible? Frankly, that story pisses me off. The bad son takes the inheritance, leaves town, blows it all, and then he comes back with his tail between his legs, and the father throws a big party, they slay the fatted calf, and they want to celebrate his return. And meanwhile, the good son, who kept the money and stayed to help his family, did everything right, was completely ignored. I get it. From the biblical perspective, it's all about forgiveness of sins. But for the workplace, it needs to be about justice. Are we rewarding the right behaviors? And remember, a wheel only squeaks if it's neglected. Everything and everybody needs maintenance. So here's how you keep your team non-squeaky. A, just like with your boss, make sure you've got regular one-to-one check-ins with each of your reports. FaceTime is attention, which is grease. B, give ownership. For high performers, ownership is the reward for autonomy. So let them define their methods and their schedules that enable them to shine. They thrive on trust, and trust is grease. C, recognize and reward meaningfully. You want to tailor recognition to the individual, whether it's a public praise, monetary bonuses, high visibility projects, whatever. Ensure that they know their impact is seen. Recognition is grease. D, prevent the extra work penalty. You've heard of this a lot. High performers are often punished by getting stuck with more work, and they know it. So don't punish efficiency by assigning more mundane work. Just because you can do more doesn't mean you should. Instead, offer them opportunities to lead, to mentor others, or tackle strategic high-impact initiatives. Give them better work, not more work, because better is grease. And E, get them seen. Give opportunities for them to work on interdepartmental cross-functional projects to increase their exposure to senior leadership. Visibility is definitely grease. Let me just give you one more easy bonus tip. So I had this report named Kelsey. She was so quiet, but she was a very high performer, never needed anything, just kind of kept to herself, got everything done very, very well. And I realized that I might be overlooking her just because she didn't need anything. So in her first review, I just called that out. I said, hey, Kelsey, I appreciate you for that because you're making it possible for me to do my job because I'm not worried about you. And so I just don't get in your way. And that makes my job easier. And I really am grateful for you on that. And that meant so much to her, just calling out that, look, just because I'm not always praising you doesn't mean I don't know in my head and my heart that you are a high performer and that you're appreciated. All right, finally, number 3, how can we quiet our squeaky wheels? Well, remember, grease is either good or bad attention, and that will determine how effective our solution is. But the first thing to do is determine if you're right. Are they squeaky or earnestly trying to get your attention for a legitimate matter? Are they being disruptive for a purpose? Sometimes a squeaky wheel is actually a driver of change whose ideas simply make others uncomfortable. But if it's not that, here's what you can do. We touched on this in the PETA episode earlier this season too, but here's 3 pretty easy things you can do to quiet a squeaky wheel. A, establish boundaries and structure. Require the individual to bring issues to a scheduled check-in rather than allowing constant ad hoc interruptions. Remember in the office, Toby had scheduled meetings with Dwight to collect all his complaints about Jim all at once so it was more efficient. That's one way to establish boundaries. B, encourage self-sufficiency. Well, this seems obvious, but it's harder than it sounds. Before intervening, ask the squeaky wheel what solutions they've already tried, forcing them to take some ownership. They'll make sure they don't go to you first next time. It's like when the kids come to you when they're hungry, and that's just until they're old enough to cook for themselves. Then they can self-service. And finally, C, shift to a proactive rather than reactive mindset. Something is truly setting them off, obviously. Instead of merely greasing them to stop the noise this time, address the root cause of their anxiety to build a more stable and productive relationship that prevents future complaining. We've had an issue recently with some of the people in our company who were complaining about a new platform and how it was slowing them down. It just caused a constant stream of angry complaints. Turns out it was really a training issue. Once they knew how to do it themselves and do it correctly, the complaints stopped. So you've got to be more proactive and not just answering the question now, but answer the next question too. That is, prevent the next question. The bottom line is this truth bomb. In the workplace, visibility is often rewarded more than productivity. I'm going to say that again. In the workplace, visibility is often rewarded more than productivity. It's that way in society too. We tend to confuse familiarity or popularity with competency. To be a great leader, you need to reward the right behaviors. Give maintenance care to the wheels so they don't squeak. and throw the party for the good son. Show the right recognition for the right behaviors that you want to see going forward. Well, here's what you could do right now to level up your leadership when it comes to squeaky wheels. Identify the quiet wheel in your organization. Are you keeping them greased so they don't squeak? Set up that one-to-one with them. Give them ownership, give them recognition, give them better work, and make sure that they get seen. If you're not, you want to turn that around now to prevent a future squeaky wheel. Well, thanks for your time. I'm Patrick McGranahan, the Boss Coach. Make sure to follow the Boss Coach if you're on Spotify. Some platforms have you subscribe, follow, or like, whatever it is. You just want to get notice of new episodes. Thank you to my recent subscribers too, and a special shout out to my new listeners coming in through YouTube. That channel is working pretty well now, and it tends to bring in a whole new demographic I didn't know that I had, so I really like that. Remember to like and leave comments too. That's what the algorithm likes. Comment in this case if you know a squeaky wheel. You don't have to say their name, but just confirm that you do know a squeaky wheel in your organization. Keep sharing those episodes, especially for your friends and coworkers who might be getting overlooked at work or dealing with a squeaky wheel. They will thank you. And I thank you for engaging on TikTok and Instagram. The Boss Cat and Boss Pug videos are going well. They're starting to learn their lines now, and they're starting to behave a little better, and it makes it more fun. So I appreciate all of you. Please keep being a leader who deserves to be followed, and I'll see you next time on The Boss Coach. Back to work, boss.
I guess I'll be a squeaky wheel.
Thank you for joining us today for The Boss Coach, hosted by Patrick McGranahan. We'd also like to thank our associate producer, Hannah, and consulting contributor, Stephanie. Original music provided by Sono AI Studio. All statements and opinions by our host and guests are solely their own observations and may not reflect those of their contemporaries or employers. Please check out other episodes of The Boss Coach for more valuable opportunities to level up your leadership. Until next time, I am your announcer, Ava. Have a great day, and as always, lead with your heart.